Greetings and welcome to Hexed Encountered. I'm Joe. In this video, we will be continuing gameplay from the game The Far Seas from Vuca Simulations, designed by Martin Anderson and Julius Brunken. In part 1, we covered the first OB, or Operations Befehl, of the game of turn 1. And you can have up to 8, but it's based on the number of German main cruisers. There are 8 of them in the game. So if one was activated in each of the OBs, you'd have 8 OBs in a turn. We had 3 that were activated in the first OB, so we'll have at most 5 more OBs and probably less. So the first thing we need to do is determine, as we start the second OB here in turn 1, we would need to determine what cruisers are going to start. So we're going to roll a die for which cruisers will be activated. How many first, and then which ones. So we got a 3. And that indicates that we will have 2 main cruisers or squadrons and 2 AMCs. Now, we only have 1 squadron that's currently on the map. That is over here. And it's already been activated, so we don't have to worry about that. So we will be only limited to selecting cruisers that are by themselves, and they will be activated in this OB. So we will have 2, which means we will have only 3 left for further OBs. I have them in my cup here. I'm going to pull it out. I drew 2. We have Königsberg, or Königsberg, and Emden. Königsberg and Emden this turn. So we'll have to find them. So Emden, and then, well, Emden's over here. So I'm going to put a black pawn on it. And Königsberg is right here off the east coast of Africa, near German East Africa. And they could move into the Rufiji River, which is, I think, an optional rule. And we may do that, perhaps. Well, I shouldn't say we, because this is run by the bot. The player, when you play solitaire, is running the allied side. So I have a habit of whichever side is moving as referring to them as we. But in this case, when I say that and it's referring to the Germans, we're really talking about the solitaire bot. So there is a possibility the solitaire bot could elect to do that, but we don't know that yet for sure. So now we have to look for tempting areas for the cruiser, the activated cruisers, to look at as potential places to move. So this is pretty straightforward, and we're going to have 1 here, 1 here. I think they also have 1 here, because I believe you can move diagonally. Then, yep, 1 here and 1 here. So they have a lot of potential destinations, which means that I, as the allied player, have to try and guess where they may end up moving. And honestly, we have a few ships here that I can move to cover some of the potential areas they may move to in the next turn. Okay, that was the Königsberg. Now we need to do Emden, and she's up here. So we need to check this one as well. So 32, where Gneisenau is, no, not anything there. 30, we have some ships in here, but we have an open station that's worth 2 VPs and a merchant area that's also worth 2 VPs. So that will get 1. Now, it could also move here. And we already raided Singapore, so it has a marker on it to indicate that it has been raided. That was raided by Scharnhorst and Nuremberg in OB1 for 2 victory points, which are the only 2 victory points the Germans currently have. They could also, well, they can't move here because they're not adjacent, but they can move to 1 or 2 on this side. So we could, in theory, move here. And we could not, we wouldn't probably move here because these are covered. So that one is out. So they have basically 2 possibilities. They wouldn't move here because there's nothing for them to raid. So that is not a tempting area. So now once we've done that, we need to check if these units can get back to Germany or to Area 13, which is up here, which is the feeder into Germany through the North Sea, whether they can do that within 9 turns, which is now still 9 turns because we are still in turn 1. So the way you do this is you count. So Königsberg's here, they could go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, absolutely, right? And then this one, now this one's a little dicier here because if they move to 2, that'd be 1, then they could move 2, or probably 2, shortest path, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So they could also do it. So both of them have the possibility of doing it. Now, there are some rules, and basically, if the Allies have at least 4 unmoved ships in area, well, that's only if you're in area 3, which is here. So they wouldn't really be able to go through here because the Allies have more than 4 ships in area 9, and you add 9, 10, and 11. If those combined contain at least 4 unmoved Allied ships, and they have like 6 or 7, then they're not. That path is not open because you go through the canal. You're going to be going right into the teeth of whatever the Allies have in those areas. Okay, so we now roll to see if we roll a 1. That is, well, 1 through 5 is no RTB order, and if we already had an RTB modifier, which we do not, then it would get reset if you roll a 1. A 6 means you do get an RTB order. So 1, I did this way to this way before, so that would be Emden, and we'll go Königsberg, and I got a 5, and so neither of those gets an RTB order. Okay, next up is the selection of AMCs, that's armed merchant cruisers. We are supposed to draw 2. Now the way this works when you use the advanced rules is you look at the ships, the main cruisers that are activated, and you look for AMCs that are close to them. So the way this works is pretty straightforward. AMC in the same area as a main cruiser. So we do have one here. So this one is going to be going along with the Emden. Now, Königsberg is kind of off by itself. So if you're within range of 1 or 2 areas, so 1, 2, they're not, right? And nobody else is anywhere. De Grosse is the closest, so that's the only one it could really be. So if you don't have one, then you chit pull or determination die roll. So I'm going to do, I guess I'll just do I'm going to roll a die. There are 2 left. It's the Trafalgar, which is here, or Kaiser Wilhelm de Grosse there. We got a 6, so odds and evens, it's de Grosse. That's going to get activated. They're going to go right there. Okay. All right, now they do their tempting area. So we mark this with a black cube. So areas with less than or equal to 1 not yet moved Allied ship and a merchant capture box with a density equal to or greater than 1. That's the first thing. So we do have one right here. So that's going to get a black cube. That one is no. This one would get a black cube. And this one would get a black cube. And over here, they have basically the same as the other one. So they would be able to put a black cube here, and there would be a black cube over here as well. Actually, no. No in both those cases. Okay, so they could actually go here because there's already a moved main cruiser there. So I think they move here. And then you roll to see where they move, because I guess we move them here. So where'd that die go? Here it is. So 4 to 6, they move. Okay, so he's going to move here. Now we'll try this one. Also a 6. Now we have to determine priority. The one with the biggest number, they're all 1s. So let's do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We'll do it simple. Well, I guess that's this one. So he's going to move there. I'll take these cubes off. Now we're ready to go. The next thing would be coaling, which would be from turn 6 on. So we don't have to do that yet. Now we go to Allied movement. Okay, so well, let's see. What do we want to do? We'll move the Glasgow here. Because we know they moved there, so we'll move that there. They're all moved, can't move them twice. Okay, so anybody who's rotated 90 degrees has already been activated. And if they're flipped over, they're done for the turn regardless. Okay, now, so we block this one. I want to leave these guys loose so that we can have a battle if the Emden comes in here. I think if the Emden comes in, they're probably going to end up trying to run. Yes, they would. So if they end up here, they're going to run. And if they end up over here, they might not run, actually, if they end up over here. Okay, so I don't really need to move anybody aside from Izumo there. This one is a little tougher. Wait, let's move. We're going to move Swift Shore here. And I'm going to move Dartmouth here. You have to rotate them. And we'll put them on station. Actually, not on station. We'll just put them here. Here and here. Okay. Then, well, let's move. I'm going to move Fox, and we'll put Fox on this merchant box. We can't cover everything, so you kind of have to pick and choose. As the Allied player, you kind of have to try and figure out where you want to move things. Let's actually preemptively move this guy up here. And we'll move him here. And we'll take Bristol and put them there. I'm just covering these because they'll be there later if something. I mean, this one is kind of not really necessary because the Germans aren't going to be able to get there. Except for this guy, perhaps. But he'd probably get chased. He'd probably get caught and chased down if he went in there. But we don't know that for sure, so we have to take our chances. Okay, so that, I think, will do it for the Allied moves. Now, it's still turn 1, so we can't do convoys. So what I'm probably going to do, just to make this clear, is we'll finish this second OB, and then I'll probably quickly do the rest of turn 1 so we can get to turn 2, and I might be able to show you guys a little bit more. Unless a battle happens, I would want to show you the battle. But I want to speed it up. So we're going to do one more full OB here for the second one, and then I'll probably abbreviate things, and then we'll go into turn 2, and we'll start talking about, because we've got all of these ships coming on, and we'll have the addition of convoys and attacking convoys to the game. Okay, so after Allied movement comes German movement. Now you have to roll for the main cruisers to determine where they go. So we're going to start up here with Emden. Now they have 2 possible areas, and the more tempting area is probably this one. So we're going to roll to see, starting with the most tempting area, 1 to 4 is a do nothing. So we want a 5 or a 6. And we got a 5, so they're going to move right here. So they're moving in there, and then we will need to determine what they're going to do once they're in there. So we're going to pull an assignment chit pull. So 1, let's see, station raid. For each unprotected station, you get 1 chit. For each protected station that is protected since the current OB, you would also get one. Now, they have a station, it is not protected. That's Hong Kong. So we get that. We also get merchant capture, which would be for each merchant density point, you get one. So it's a 2. So we're going to get 2 merchant captures and 1 station raid. So I have them in my hand. I'll put them in the cup. Shake them up. I'll reach in, pull one out. And we got merchant capture, which was, of course, the one that would be most likely. So I'm going to put that in there. And that is his mission. So now let's do the other one, which is here. So let me read about the Rufiji River, because that's an optional rule, and I just wanted to check it out to see if we want to use it or not here. Okay, so we're going to skip that optional rule, only because when you elect to move there, you move there right away in phase 1. We're in phase 3, because if you move there in phase 1, that allows the Allies to react to it. In this case, only a British ship could follow them into the river. It actually wouldn't be possible. And the only reason to go in there is that the British can't attack you if you're in there. So if you had a banged up ship, and it was one of these that is listed there, which are actually the six main cruisers that are not Gneisenau or Scharnhorst, those are the 2 big ones. They are the only 2 German ships that can't go up in here. And AMCs don't go in there either. But if you had a banged up ship, that would be a place you could escape to hang out, I guess. And the British could bottle you up in there by moving in there as well. But there can be no battles on the river. So let's start checking here. So that's a 2. That's a 1. This one would be 2. And so 1, 2. That's a 3. So this would be the first one we'll check. That's a 2, so we skip it. Now we'll check this one. That's a 2 as well, so we skip it. Now we'll check this one. That's a 5. So they're going to move here, and then we're going to do the same thing. So they're going to get 3 station raids and 2 merchant captures. Okay. So 3 station raids. 2 merchant captures. We get a station raid. Now, I think they would choose one that did not have a ship on it. So if you have multiples, I think you have to roll for it. There's a chit for Rufiji River. Only if check is for a ship that entered Area 21. Well, they already moved out of there. So they started in 21 anyway. So whatever, we're not playing with that rule. So I'm going to roll 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let's just do it that way. Oh, of course, it's the one that has a freaking... Why would they choose that one, though? They wouldn't choose that one. Let's go to Penang. I'm trying to see if there's actually a rule in here that tells you which one to do, because you have multiples. Okay. Well, we're not going to worry about that right now. So they're going to do that one. So let's resolve this now. So they automatically, these 2 cannot attempt a search because they moved. They were not here at the start of the turn. They moved in from up here by India. Now, this goes away. This is going to get flipped. They get 1 victory point, and the station gets marked as having been raided, so it cannot be raided again. Okay. These 2 stay on station. They were not involved in any combat or anything, just like this one over here. These 2, actually. They weren't involved in combat, so they can't be bothered. And they will be there should another German cruiser attempt to do something in there, whether it's an AMC or one of the main cruisers. So they're done. Now we come over here. Okay, so they were doing... a merchant capture, if I remember correctly. And the problem with that is there is a ship here, and that's an AMC, so they are not going to be able to do that. So they're just going to go here. Now up here, AMCs always try the merchant capture, by the way. They're on the station here, but these ships can search for them. So they're going to do a merchant capture. But first, the Newcastle and the Hampshire are going to do a search because they did not move. And I specifically didn't put them there on a, because I could have moved one here and one to Hong Kong, covered them both. That would have potentially drawn combat, but I wanted to show the search sequence. Okay, so there was a rule that I neglected to remember, and that is that a ship has to move in an area. Like these guys would technically get rotated, right? Which I did not do. So these would all, they can move within their area. Like you could say, oh, well, they steamed down from Hong Kong and they're out, just out in open water somewhere. That basically activates them so they can search because they moved, but they did not go on station or into the merchant capture because we are trying to locate the Germans if they come in and not be tied down. When you go on station or you go to protect merchants, then you are basically tied into your job and you can't search. So this is the only way they can search, is by moving and then searching. Moving and not being on station or on some kind of escort, which includes convoys, but convoys don't start until turn 2. Okay, so now we can do the search sequence here. Okay, so you need to roll a 1 or less, right? And of course you can't roll a 0 unless you have a die roll modifier, which in this case they will. So there are 2 ships here. So every ship beyond the first that's searching, or squadron, you get a -1 DRM. If the Germans had more than 1 ship, they would also get a -1 for each additional ship. This case, that's not true. There's only a single ship. So they need to roll a 2 or a 1 for this to be good. And it's a 1. So they roll a 1, which means they have found the Emden. And I'm going to put these guys together as a squadron, which is what I probably should have done anyway. So some of this is retroactive fixes or whatever, just to make it worthwhile. So looking at the ships, okay, they have a range of C. Their fire roll modifier is a -4. Their damage capacity is a 3, and that's 4+. And this one's a little bit better. In terms of damage capacity, it's 5, so it can take 5 damage. But its speed is worse. It's a 4-. Now, the Emden is a 4+ speed. Okay, so if the Emden decides to run, and it may, in fact, it will attempt to run. I shouldn't say may. It will attempt to run because it's outgunned. These both have higher damage capacities, but it's an even race, and I think you're supposed to leave that for now. So it's an even race, and it would technically get a red one, right? I can take this off, and I need to take these off as well because all of those are now moot. And so is this one. Okay. So they're going to try to run. So when you try to run and you have even strength, but we don't have even strength, we have a situation where they are, because you have a 4+, then a 4, then a 4-. That's 2 steps below. So the Emden would automatically escape in this case, because you can only travel if you're in a squadron. Now, if I left them separate, I didn't realize that at the time, but I'm not going to, change one thing and then change it back the other way because it's more convenient for me in terms of making a battle. So they can't stay there, so they have to run, and I can move them wherever I want. And it might be better to actually, this is a main cruiser. It might be better to have them run this way. Put them in here. Now, when they move into the same area, you supposedly be able to check to see if they squadron up or not. I don't know if that occurs in this or not. And I'm looking for the die roll for that because I don't remember if they move into the same area, they would possibly, oh yeah, 1 to 3 form squadron, 4 to 6 stay separate. So let me just roll this. It's a 4, so they would stay separate anyway. Okay, so that would be it, except for this one. Now this one, because we've put a ship on station here, we may have an intern potentially here. Let me check. Okay, so here's the way this works, which is not the way I would have guessed. But anyway, and I had forgotten this. It is in the rules. I just forgot. So Glasgow moved here, this OB. Okay, so that kind of locks them in here. They are protecting merchants. The box itself is an abstract construct for game purposes, right? This is a lot of open water to cover in this area. So basically what happens is they don't find them. They don't find, and this makes their presence makes this 1 into a 0. And because it's 0, they don't have any ships to find, so they don't find anything. So they would get flipped over. Now, I talked about intern, and there are 2 symbols here next to the 7, which might be hard to see, but if you're watching on a television, you probably can see this. There's a little kind of anchor with most of a circle filled in with like arrows. That is an intern area, meaning that they could go and be interned in Argentina or Uruguay or whatever. Then there's also a coaling symbol, which doesn't take effect until turn 6. So that's when you would have to check for coal for your German ships. Now there's also the possibility that the AMCs can be interned, and you would roll a die. Actually, you're supposed to do this, and I missed this as well. This is an advanced rule. So I mentioned the intern symbol, right? When they moved in here, any area that has them, which is going to be an area that is adjacent to land, basically, right? Makes sense. You can't intern in the middle of the ocean. So like 20 doesn't have it, although 19 doesn't either. So I guess you can't intern down here. But anyway, let's not worry about that. A 3 means they don't choose to intern. Because what happens is, let's say a warship, maybe Monmouth, comes in here, they'd be able to search. And if they find them, they'd be able to sink them. And if they would try to run. They don't have any weapons with which to fight warships. And their speeds are 4 minus, and they're a 4. So the Monmouth's faster. So they would be able to have a shot at getting away, but they would have to roll a 6. And so if that failed, they would then be sunk or captured, probably sunk, which cost the Germans a victory point. The Germans can avoid losing that 1 victory point if they elect to intern the AMC. So it's taken off the board, but you don't lose a victory point for losing it. That's kind of the way that works. So that finishes the second OB. And I have to mark my log sheet here. So this is the log. You can see Scharnhorst, Nuremberg, and Karlsruhe all were active in the first one, as well as 2 of the AMC merchants. And just kind of, you fill it in as you go. So actually that should be I screwed that up. Actually, no, that is right. All right, so this time we moved, the Emden went to 30. Well, I'll do this off camera. Okay, I'm going to do the next one off camera. I may pop in to give you updates as things progress. If I hit a battle, I will show you that. But otherwise, I'm going to do this as quickly as I can to get us to turn 2 so we can look at convoys and potentially have a battle. Battles, by the way, not all that frequent. Most of the time, when you're playing solo at least, the Germans will try to run away, because the British have numerical superiority and often have superiority of equipment. Their ships are better. So the Germans, the smart move is to run, and they do. Okay, our active cruisers for this third OB, Gneisenau, Dresden, and the AMC Trafalgar. Okay, you can see the areas of interest for Dresden, these 2, 15 and 9. The area you're in is a potential area of interest. I've been playing that it wasn't, but I found that I was wrong about that, so we'll be doing that. For the Trafalgar, which is our AMC, they can go here because this is unprotected, or up here because you can move diagonally, and that is unprotected as well. Then for Gneisenau over here, they've got this one because they've got an open merchant box, and Port Moresby, we have Tsingtao up here and a merchant box as well, so they could move up there. They do have Russian ships in there, and obviously there are a bunch of British ships in box 28. Box 29, nothing is open, so they didn't move there. And actually, they can move to box 30. No, they can't because they don't touch 30. That's why I didn't do that one. All right, so that's that. Okay, I ended up moving, I think, almost. I'm going to move this one here. And I'm going to put both of these in here. I ended up moving pretty much almost everybody, only because the Germans have one main cruiser and no AMCs left to be activated, and that would be Leipzig, which is over here. So I know that the Allies can basically, map out or, spread out into the most advantageous position. So that's what I've attempted to do. I've left the Australia. Note I turned her 90 degrees so that she is ready to search. If the Gneisenau comes in here, we could have a nice battle between Australia and Gneisenau. That'd be a nice battle between two heavies. But otherwise, we are ready to resolve here. So I'm going to, again, I'll do it off camera. I'll recap it for you afterwards, but I want this to be short so we can get on to turn 2. Okay, so assignments have been determined. They ended up staying here. They got a merchant capture, so they're going to attempt to do a merchant capture up there, even though there is a British ship there. And so that's where they're staying. The Gneisenau moved down into the Australia area. They also have a merchant capture, so they're going to face 3 British ships here. And I'll have to determine whether or not they will escape. And I'll do that off camera, and if they elect not to run and we have a battle, I will show you the battle in full. So that's what I'm going to do next. And the AMC moved here, but they will end up not doing anything because there's a British ship there on station, just like what we had last OB over here by Argentina. Okay, so here's what happens here is that the Gneisenau has a speed of 4-. The 3 ships here, the Sydney has a 4+. Okay, but they are all together in this spot, so I would say that makes them a squadron. But I'm the Allied player, so what would happen is, since if I use the rule where they stay together as a squadron, Gneisenau escapes. If I say, well, Sydney will ditch her 2 partners and go after Gneisenau alone, then we'd have combat. So for the sake of showing combat, I am going to say Sydney is going to show incredible boldness, bravery, stupidity, perhaps. I mean, they're not outgunned by that much, but they are certainly outgunned. So we're going to have ourselves a battle. I'm going to adjust the camera, zoom in, so you can see how this works. Okay, so here we go, right? So you always start at A. So they're going to close because neither ship has a range of A. Gneisenau's a B, Sydney's a C. So they're going to both move to B. Now when they move here, we go to round 2, because round 1 just had them moving up. Now Gneisenau can fire. So her fire modifier is a -2. So she only has 1 target. That, of course, is Sydney. So they're going to roll. And we'll take the -2 off the roll. And there's no modifiers on the first one because this is the first time she's firing. And then we'll see what happens. Okay, let's roll. That's a 3, which becomes a 1, which is 1 damage point, I believe. Yes, that is 1 damage point. So I'm just going to put it next to it because we only have 1 ship on 1 here. Now we will go to, well, let's do this. We're going to put, that's there, and this is here now. That's the die roll for firing at the same target. So they're going to move to C. Okay. Now both ships will fire. I'll just roll the Germans first. They do get a +1 this time. So they're now a -1 from the roll. And they rolled a 2. So again, they do 1 more damage point. So I'll just flip this to the 2 side. Now they fire. We'll use the red die. They're a -3. Rolled a 3. That's a 0, which is no damage. Okay. Okay, so now this would move up, and this would move up. And I forgot this additional modifier. They get a 2 because well, it's now a 3. They should have gotten a 2 last time because it would have been +1 for the same target and +1 for having hit the target in the previous round. So now it's a +2 for same target and an additional +1 for having hit the target. So they actually get a +1 on their roll this time. And that's a 3, and a 3 becomes a 4, and a 4 is 3 damage points. That sinks the Sydney. So the Sydney has been sunk. Okay, she's sunk, and she is a 2-star, so the Germans get 2 victory points for that. So Sydney has been sunk, and Gneisenau, oh, they should roll for her attack. A 5, that's a good roll. 5 -2, because she was a -3, with the +1 becomes a 3, and a 3 I think is 2 damage points. Yep, 2 damage points to the Gneisenau. Okay, so Gneisenau, you get 1 repair after the battle, so it becomes a 1, but that sticks with her, and she gets flipped over, and she goes back to Area 28. And because she was damaged, because she fought a battle, she can't do a merchant capture. I'm going to move the battle marker off Area 28. Here we know that this is just going to resolve to nothing because they can't intern, and these 2 can't search for her. Actually, this one can. That one can. She's a 4-, and Trafalgar's a 3. So we may end up having the Germans lose 1 here. So we have to do a search. Here's the British die. No, didn't find her. So she's fine. They're fine. Actually, I think they get flipped over for having done a search. And that is it, right? Oh no, this one. So this one has to try and do a merchant capture as well. So they will be facing off with, well, first we have to, actually I did this already and they did not find her. So they're going to be facing off with the Lancaster. That's a speed of 4. She's a 4+. She's actually a better, no, they have a higher fire roll. So she would try to escape, and because of her speed, she would succeed in escaping. So she's going to move. I can, well, let's roll for it. I know what I would do if I were the German commander, but I'm not. So let's roll. All right. 4. And I forgot this again. I do this every time. I was going to do 2, 4, 6. So she moves here. Okay, and now this box has an RTB +2 denoted on it. This one has an RTB +1, which I need to remember for the die roll for that going forward. And that is that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how Convoy works, just so I can wrap the video up. And looking at how the first part is doing, it's already live on the channel. It's not doing terrible, but it's not doing great and has no comments. So I'm taking that to mean that there isn't a lot of interest in me continuing to do this. So this will probably be the final video. I may do a review down the road, but let's talk about how convoys work. Okay, so starting in turn 2, if you're using advanced rules, you can do convoys. Now this is the number of transports in the convoy, and it starts at 15. This is the name of the convoy and where it starts, right? So this is Australia, and it can score up to 15 victory points for the British, which just means you move the German track down by that much. Now it would start on this blue dot here on Australia, and there's a path which does say Australian on it, and you can see the path that the convoy takes as it goes up, and then it goes through here past the Horn and up through the Red Sea to the Suez Canal. So we're going to start here, and put 15 at the top on the wheel here. It's more like a stop sign, but you know what I mean, right? So we put that there, and then they would be able to start moving in the middle of the OB, or the middle of the turn, right? During the turn, they would move. Now, the British, in this case, or just an ally, right, could assign an escort. So let's say the Australia is going to escort this convoy, right? HMS Australia escorting the Australian convoy. It seems fitting. So you put it next to it, on top of it, whatever. They just go together, right? Then it would start to move, and the Germans can attack it. So let's just say that Gneisenau it's the convoy's here, right? So it's left port. This is in the same area. It can attack it. So you use your speed and you roll to see if you surprise the convoy. And if you do, well, your speed modifiers will matter, right? So if you have a speed of 4, you add 1 to your die roll. Speed 4 minus, you add 2 to the die roll. And that the die roll that you're looking for is a 1 to 3, which is a surprise success. German raiders bypass the escorts. You roll 1d6 for each attacking ship. Sum of all die rolls equals the number of transports destroyed, and the attacking German ships then escape safely. But if you fail surprise, German raiders must engage the convoy escort in combat on the tactical battlefield. So then you would resolve your combat with the escorts, and all escorting ships on convoy duty must be sunk or forced to run before the convoy itself can be attacked. German ships may attempt to run after the first round. That would all be determined on the German side by the bot, by the way. Then unprotected convoy, if you don't have any escorts, is automatically destroyed entirely by the German force. Okay, so immediate points for each convoy transport sunk during the game. The German player scores 1 victory point immediately. At the game's end, any convoy that fails to reach its destination by the end of the game awards victory points to the German equal to all of its remaining transports. And if a convoy loses all 15 transports, it is completely eliminated and removed from the map. Now, in solo play, when a German ship enters an area with a convoy, the bot builds its Phase 3 assignment cup with 2 convoy attack chits if less than or equal to 1 convoy is present, or 1 convoy surprise chit if 2 or more escorts are present. So that's how that works. So I know that was kind of a verbal description, but you get the gist. I don't want to go through a battle and everything. I mean, if they get in here and they have a 4 minus speed, so they would take a minus, they would add 1 to the die roll. So let's say they rolled a 1. That would become a 2, which still means surprise. So then they would roll and say they rolled a 6. This 15 would immediately be downgraded to a 9, and the Germans would get 6 victory points. That's how that works. If they failed to surprise, they would have to fight the Australia and make them run or beat them or sink them, and then they would be able to attack the convoy as well. And if there were no escorts left, it would be able to destroy all of the convoy and get 15 victory points. So the convoy can give the Germans a lot of victory points. And it's an advanced rule that I feel is really good, I guess, really useful to add, because it forces the allied player, who has a lot of advantages. I mean, you look at the board, there's a lot of red on here. They have a lot of advantages. If you force them to have to protect the convoys, of which there are, I think, 6. 5. There are 5. So you've got 2 from India, 1 from Canada, and 1 from Cape, right here, Cape Town, the Cape of Good Hope, Cape Garrison. So that one goes all the way up to the British Isles. Here's the Canadian. That's a short one across the Atlantic. Some of these are pretty long. The Australian is pretty long. The 2 Indians are very short. One Indian comes out here from Hyderabad and goes up to the Suez Canal. That's a misspelling right there. There's 2 N's in that canal right there. And Indian 2 goes to British East Africa, while, of course, the Australian, as we saw, goes up there as well. So those are your 5 convoy paths that the Germans, it's up to their best interest to try and sink those, because you could get a ton of points. 5 times 15 is what, 65 points? That's a lot of points when the max is 80. So if you could sink them all, you would be really good. Because speaking of victory points, right, there are some notes on here, which I know you guys can't read because it's tiny and it's kind of off shot anyway. So less than 30 victory points, the British win, triumph of British arms. 31 to 40, it's a draw, moral victory for the German. 41 to 50, the Germans win, embarrassment to the Royal Navy. 51 to 60, German honor, scandal in the Admiralty. 61 to 70 victory points, German triumph, public outcry. And 71 to 80 is a German legend, shake-up in the war cabinet. Greater than 80, game over immediately. British Navy commander dismissed immediately. So that's the full range of possibilities. There were other things I didn't get into. We have holding boxes, 2 down here, that turn 2, you can start to move them out. You can take victory point losses, award victory points to the Germans if you wanted to move them out early. I don't really see necessarily why you would do that. There are a couple up here as well in the Mediterranean. Then they have British reserves here. There's also some British ships that come in turn 2. And the Lion, or Tiger rather, comes as a, I think that's as an optional rule or an advanced rule maybe. It's one or the other that would bring the Tiger in during turn 7. So that is going to do it for this. Now, I think the game, as you play it, I'll give you kind of a short and sweet review here. As you play the game, it's very fun, and there is a lot of strategy involved. Even playing solitaire, because you have to try to kind of guess, really, what the German bot is going to do in terms of where they're going to move. Now, you can make it hard for them to have good places to move, which I tried to do, but ultimately they're going to move somewhere, and something could happen based on that. You don't know if they're going to try to run for home. You don't know if they're going to try to attack your merchant boxes or your stations. You don't know if if you should leave somebody to search in the hopes of encountering them, and you'd either force them to attempt to run or fight them. And fighting them, of course, is a great way to make it difficult for them to win, because if you damage them enough, you slow them down. Half of their damage capacity, if you hit that, get it over half, they lose speed. And then once they lose speed, they're easy to catch. They're not going to be able to run from combat. And you can probably, if you can succeed in the search, which isn't always real easy, but if you put enough ships on it, you can get it done. And then, of course, from the German side, if you have the convoys active, that gives the British something they have to protect. They have to protect that, or they're not going to do very well. In a 2-player game, I think this would be a lot better, because the Germans would do things that would make things a little bit more difficult, I think, for the British, because a human brain is always going to be better than a kind of cardboard bot, right? But the bot itself, I think, is designed very well, and it works very well. But for that, I think this game would truly shine in a 2-player format. So I like the game. Components are awesome. Typical Vuca. Nice. I mean, there's the minor thing with the Suez Canal, and there's probably a few other things on here that are maybe a typo here and there. The rules are lengthy but fairly sensible. There's nothing in there that makes you go, what? Yeah, all things considered, great job by all involved. The 2 designers, Vuca, all great. So I have babbled on long enough, and I think it's time to sign off here. So that is going to do it for this one. I do thank you for watching, and if you watched the whole thing, kudos to you. That is awesome. But regardless, if you're watching this now after having skipped ahead, that's fine too. While you're here, if you have any questions to ask, please put them in the comment section. Also, consider liking, sharing, hyping, possibly even becoming a subscriber if you are not already one. You can click the bell for notifications. If you're already a subscriber, thank you very much. I appreciate it. And speaking of appreciation, it is time for my shout out to my channel members. We have 2 tiers, Hexed and Countered, as you might expect. And you can find out more about that by clicking the join button, which will not sign you up, but will let you get information on how it works. Whew, I get winded saying all that stuff. But anyway, we're done. Until next time, I'm Joe. This is Hexed and Countered. Happy gaming.